This audio has been taken from the Citizens Archive of Pakistan's Oral History Project.
Today is the 7th of December, and we are present here at Mr. Aslam Azhar's residence in Islamabad. Sir, do we have your permission to proceed?
With pleasure.
Sir, what's your full name?
Aslam Azhar. That's it.
Date of birth?
1932.
So, where were you born?
In model town Lahore.
So, can I have your father's name?
A.D. Azhar.
And what was his occupation?
He was a civil servant in the government of India before partition and then the government of Pakistan. And he was a finance expert.
Sir, your mother's name?
Deborah Azhar, Zarina.
And was she a housewife?
She was a lifelong school and college teacher, even after marriage. In fact, I think at the age of 90, she was still teaching.
Sir, can you tell me the names of your siblings?
My what?
Siblings' names.
My children. My eldest son is Usama. My second son is Arib. And then our daughter, Umaima. 3 children.
And sir, also, can you tell me the names of your brothers and sisters?
My eldest stepbrother has passed away. He was in the Navy. Zafar was his name. My second elder brother, also a stepbrother, is in Rawalpindi, a retired brigadier in the army, Brigadier Saeed Azhar. And my real younger brother has passed away. He was in the United States, Salim Azhar. And then I have a younger sister now living in Canada, Farida. That's the family.
So your wife's name?
Nasreen.
And her occupation?
She is a very active, lifelong social worker who works in the domains of human rights and women's and children's rights. And she is nowadays, for example, also a member of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan.
So did your family migrate from India to Pakistan?
My father and my mother both were born in what is now Pakistan. My wife's family moved from Delhi in India, first to Karachi and then now here.
And where in Pakistan is your family from? What city?
My father was born in Sialkot. and educated in Lahore. My mother was born in a small town near Bannu in the frontier province, now Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And what was your question?
That was my question. Where was she born in Pakistan?
And she was educated, yes, at the Kinnaird College in Lahore.
So do you remember which city you were living in 1947?
In 1947, I was in Sydney in Australia because some months before the partition, my father had been appointed as Indian Trade Commissioner in Australia. So the family moved with him. After partition, my father chose to come back to Pakistan. I stayed on in Sydney University for a few months, and then I got fed up with that and came back to Lahore.
So which cities have you lived in Pakistan since?
Lahore, Karachi, Rawalpindi, and now Islamabad. So I'm a big city man.
And how long have you been living in Islamabad?
Oh, a good 12, 15 years this time.
So can you tell us about your educational background, your early education, where did you get it from, and then
Yes.
later on college?
My schooling was in the Central Model School, Lahore, which in the days of British India was considered one of the finest schools in the subcontinent. It was a government school, not a private school, but a first-class school. And my teachers in the Central Model School made me what I am. I owe everything to those teachers in school, in particular one name, Master Ghulam Nabi Bhatt.
And then, sir, later, after...
Now, after Central Model School, where I matriculated in 1947, in fact, mine was the last batch to matriculate before partition. I then joined Government College Lahore. I graduated from Government College Lahore in 1954 with my subjects. At that time, I had intended to become a scientist, so my subjects were physics and mathematics in my graduation. Then I chose, with my father's permission, to go to Cambridge University in England. But then I decided to change subjects, and from Cambridge, I graduated in law. I had no intention of becoming a practicing lawyer, but I was very interested in the philosophy of law called jurisprudence, because the study of jurisprudence gave me a much deeper understanding of the European Renaissance movement of the 13th and 14th centuries, which was a subject that interested me greatly because I wanted to know where these great scientists of today in Europe came from.
And so which year did you graduate from Cambridge?
Cambridge, 1954.
So can you tell us about the main jobs that you've had since your professional?
Well, when I had finished at Cambridge and I came back, I decided to join the private corporate sector. And I found a very good job in the then Burma Oil Company, based in Karachi. And I worked in the Burma Oil Company in Karachi for a couple of years. I was also in the Sui gas field, where the Burma Oil Company, through its Pakistani affiliate, Pakistan Petroleum, ran the Sui gas field. And I was the administrative manager of the gas field in Sui. Then they transferred me to Chittagong in what was then East Pakistan, the Burma Oil Company. And I served in Chittagong for about 1 year. And then it occurred to me one day, sitting in the office in Chittagong, पढ़ें फारसी और बेचें तेल. And I was literally selling oil. So I wrote my resignation letter right there and gave it to my manager, who sent it to Karachi, who spoke to my father. And my father phoned me and said, "Beta, क्या हो गया?" मैंने कहा, "बस अब्बा, पढ़ें फारसी और बेचें तेल, तो मैं वापस कराची आ रहा हूँ. क्या करोगे?" मैंने कहा, "देखेंगे क्या करेंगे." I came back to Karachi and then I freelanced for a few years. I did a lot of radio broadcasting. There was no television at that time, of course. I was English newsreader, in fact, the most popular English newsreader of that time. And I did a lot of programs for Radio Pakistan's transcription service on culture, on music, on theatre. And in those years in Karachi, I did a lot of theatre on the stage. In fact, we had a company, a private little company in Karachi of amateurs, not professionals. We didn't do theatre for money, but shock. We had a small group called the Karachi Arts Theatre Society, KATS, CATS, which became very popular. And we did a lot of theatre under that banner of CATS. Then, one day, I got a telephone call from a friend, Mr. B. Nasiruddin, who had business connections with Japan's Nippon Electric Company, NEC. And Nasiruddin told me that NEC had been granted a license by the government of Pakistan to start a pilot television station in Lahore. And they wanted me to join as head of programs. A Japanese gentleman called Mr. Inoue, who became a very good friend of mine, interviewed me for this job, and I said, Mr. Inoue, I know nothing about television. And Mr. Inoue said to me, nor does any other Pakistani. So, but you have a background in radio, you have a background in theater, and so you're just the man we're looking for. So, I moved to Lahore. And in November 1964, I launched the first television pilot station in Lahore in a makeshift small building with a small studio. And I hired 3 young, talented people as my producers, as my deputies. Fazal Kamal, Zaka Durrani, and Nisar Hussain. Of us 4, I'm the only one left living. And this pilot station ran for 3 months and was so successful that the government of Pakistan decided to turn the pilot station into a permanent company, which was then called the Pakistan Television Promoters Company. I worked as the head of programs in the Lahore pilot station for about 2 years. And then the Ministry of Information of the government of Pakistan decided that they wanted to start television in Rawalpindi. There was no Islamabad at that time. So in December 1966, excuse me, I moved to Rawalpindi. And a few months later, I launched a television station from Chaklala in Rawalpindi. This also, by the grace of Allah, ran very successfully. And a couple of years down the road, the government of Pakistan, the Ministry of Information, called me and said, we are starting a permanent, Pakka television center in Karachi, and we want you there now. So I moved to Karachi and I started the Karachi television station. So I, in fact, started all 3 in West Pakistan. There was another team in East Pakistan, in Dhaka. I was serving in Karachi when Mr. Bhutto became then President of Pakistan. After the fall of Dhaka. And one day, I got a call from Mr. Bhutto saying that he wanted me to move to Rawalpindi as managing director of the Pakistan Television Company. So I served as managing director for some years, again quite successfully. And then came General Ziaul Haq and his martial law. And of course, I was known as a democratic person. So there was no room for me in General Ziaul Haq's scenario. And one day I was sacked. When I was sacked, with the mashwara of my friends, I and my wife decided to move with our children to Karachi. And there, once again, for some years, I freelanced, doing documentary films, radio, theatre. It was while I was in Karachi that General Ziaul Haq died in an air crash. And Miss Benazir Bhutto ultimately became Prime Minister of Pakistan. And it was she who then invited me back and made me chairman. I had been managing director before, but now I became chairman of both Pakistan Television and Radio Pakistan, the Pakistan Broadcasting Corporation. And I served as chairman until Benazir Bhutto herself was sacked. And when Mr. Nawaz Sharif came to power as Prime Minister, he did not need me, and so that was the end of my job as chairman. Ever since then, I've been a private person living my own life.
Okay, sir, you talked about your teacher, Master Ghulam Nabi Bhatt, as an inspiration for you, and you said that he made you the man you are today. Can you tell us more about him, your schooling days? How did he inspire you? And in
the Central Model School was, as I had said earlier, a very fine institution. Our headmaster was another great man called Mr. Makhdoumi. Mr. Makhdoumi was a master's in education from Leeds University in England. And in my time, he was the headmaster of the Central Model School, and what an inspiring person he was. It was he who encouraged me to take up public speaking, which is where I began to become one of Pakistan's top debaters later in college. In the Central Model School, when I was there in Lahore, there used to be an annual declamation contest by an organization called, I think, the Dhani Ram Bhalla Institution. And in the very first declamation contest that I participated in, I got the gold medal. And that would have been 1947, just before I matriculated. When I'd finished Central Model School, as I told you earlier, I was in Sydney in Australia for a year. And then I came back to Government College, Lahore. And in Government College, Lahore, in addition to my physics and mathematics, I did some theatre. In fact, I and my team of friends resurrected the Government College Dramatic Club, GCDC, after partition. And with GCDC, the Government College Dramatic Club, I did some theatre in the college premises and took part in both college and inter-university debates, for which I even travelled to Karachi and got the gold medal, and to Peshawar and got the gold medal. I was a pretty good debater, actually. I enjoyed debating. और मैं वो लिख के घोटा नहीं मारता था, जैसे कई और डिबेटर्स करते थे उस ज़माने में, कि घोटा लगा के और बस बाप अब्बा से तकरीर लिखवा ली और घोटा लगा के. I just had notes and I used to speak from my notes. And I was an English language debater. So I did a lot of that, and in fact that served me very well later in my broadcasting years. Now, where do we go from there? My mother was a teacher of mathematics in high school, O-levels and A-levels. She taught, her last teaching job was in the Cathedral School in Lahore, where she was teacher of mathematics in O and A-levels. And she was, many people later in life told me what a great teacher she was. I heard this from her students, who in later life became my friends and told me all this. And they said she was a marvelous teacher. My father had also been a teacher before he joined as a civil servant. He was teaching in Murray College in Sialkot, and then for a short time in Government College in Lahore, after which he joined the civil service.
So, sir, how much importance was education given back in those days? Can you tell me?
In those days, first of all, British India, which is when I was in school, because the partition took place just after my matriculation. Education was given very high importance. और मुझे अच्छी तरह याद है कि मेरे उस्ताद गुलाम नबी भट्ट जैसे लोग माल रोड पे जब सैर करने निकलते थे, मेरे आंखों में आंसू आने लगे. तो दुकानदार उनको निकल के सलाम करते थे. टीचर, बड़ी इज्जत थी टीचर्स की उस जमाने में. Which is why education in India and then later Pakistan was such a successful business. Which is why then later, much later, so many private schools grew up and mushroomed, because education had been given a solid base as a priority in society. अच्छे दिन थे.
So you lived in Lahore during British India days.
Yes, in my
30s,
education years.
yeah, during 30s and 40s, and then subsequently after partition as well. So, what changes did you see in Lahore? Like, how did it change as a city during those decades? How did partition impact the atmosphere there? And this was a time when there was a lot of political activity as well.
Of course, of course.
And
Mr. Jinnah,
exactly.
then the Muslim League.
The anti-colonial movement, and all that was happening at that time. So, like, what do you remember of Lahore in terms of its social milieu, its culture, its politics, the environment?
First of all, there was a lot of cultural activity in Lahore in those decades, in those years, immediately before and then after partition for at least 20 years. The Alhambra Arts Council in Lahore was a busy place. Lahore was full of the greatest writers in Urdu of that time. And there were many outstanding theatre directors, professional theatre directors. One name that stands out is Rafi Pir, the late father of the famous Pirzada Bradran of today. He was a great theatre person. Oh, आवाज उनकी गूंजती थी. In his younger days, Mr. Rafi Pir had done a lot of theatre in his student years in Germany. And he had learnt his theatre in Germany. And he was my inspiration. One day I remember he came to Government College Lahore. Our English professor got together students who would be interested in theatre, and I was one of them. We were about 8 or 10 of us, young college students. And Rafi Pir Sahab came and talked to us about theatre. He talked for about an hour or 2 hours. That was my inspiration.
So, in your college days, were you part of any literary or societies or clubs?
No, I was part of the dramatic club. I was a member of the literary societies, both Urdu and English. But my main activity was in the dramatic club. And, of course, you talked about politics at that time. I was elected president of the Government College Students' Union with the then record number of votes. I got, I think, 95% of the votes. And I was elected president of the Government College Union. So I presided over a large number of debates, both government college debates and inter-university debates.
So can you elaborate more on Lahore as it was in the 40s? The streets and the...
Lahore in the 40s was a very charming place. सड़कों पे टांगे चलते थे, माल रोड पे टांगे चलते थे. मोटर कार्स बहुत कम थी 40s में. टांगे होते थे. मैं स्कूल टांगे में बैठ के जाया करता था. कॉलेज टांगे में बैठ के जाता था until I went into the government college hostel. तो माहौल था एक पूरा जो आप बाग जिना कहलाता है. It was in the days of the British called Lawrence Gardens. वहाँ क्या बहार और रौनक होती थी. शाम को लोग निकलते थे, बीवी बच्चे, औरतें, मर्द, लड़के, लड़कियाँ, सब. Because it was a very liberal Lahore at that time. Very open-minded and culture-oriented. Music, theatre, dance, all of these things thrived in Lahore. अच्छा तो बात हो रही थी थिएटर की. मैं जब कराची में था और मेरी बीवी और मेरा पहला बेटा कराची में पैदा हुआ था, उसामा, तो कराची में इत्तेफाकन एक शाम किसी दोस्त के घर मेरी एक और जवान आदमी से मुलाकात हुई. आई वॉज देन इन माई 30s and he was a few years younger than me. Mansoor Saeed. Mansoor Saeed has passed away. He was a great young man of theatre. तो उससे मेरी बड़ी गहरी दोस्ती हो गई. मेरा छोटा भाई था वो तो बिल्कुल. तो मंसूर ने और मैंने एक दिन मिल के मंसूर के इंस्पिरेशन पे फैसला किया कि हम एक थिएटर सोसाइटी बनाते हैं कराची में. और हमने चंद स्टूडेंट्स जो हमारे दोस्त थे, मोस्टली मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स, in fact ittifaqan all of them were medical students, उनके साथ मिलके हमने एक थिएटर सोसाइटी बनाई और मंसूर सईद की इंस्पिरेशन पे उसका नाम रखा दस्तक. यानी हमारा मकसद था लोगों के जहनों पे दस्तक देना कि जागो और अपने जहन की खिड़कियां दरवाजे खोलो ताकि नए असरात, नए तजुर्बे तुम्हारे जहनों में आएं. इस गरज से हमने दस्तक थिएटर ग्रुप बनाया और दस्तक के तहत हमने शुरू में बेर्टोल्ड ब्रेख्ट, जर्मनी के एक बहुत बड़े ड्रामाटिस्ट थे, बेर्टोल्ड ब्रेख्ट, उनके शॉर्ट प्लेज, वन एक्ट प्लेज मंसूर सईद ने उर्दू में अपनी खूबसूरत दिल्ली की उर्दू में तर्जुमा किए. मंसूर सईद दिल्ली के थे और उनकी बड़ी खूबसूरत दिल्ली की उर्दू ज़बान थी. वो उन्होंने उर्दू में तर्जुमा किए ब्रेख्ट के वन एक्ट प्लेज. These were all plays on social themes. Workers, women, students. ये दस्तक थिएटर ग्रुप ने वन एक्ट प्लेज लेकर और कराची के इंडस्ट्रियल एरियाज़ में वर्कर्स के साथ बैठ के हमने उनको ये ड्रामे दिखाए. एक मुझे मौका याद है, इट वॉज द 100-year सेलिब्रेशन ऑफ लेबर डे, मे डे, 1 मई, यौम मई. यौम मई का 100th सेलिब्रेशन था उस साल. आई थिंक इट वॉज 1965, सॉरी 1975. हमने यौम मई पे कराची के कुरंगी के इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया में बड़ी चौड़ी सड़क पे, जिसके दाएं तरफ, बाएं तरफ और पीछे फैक्ट्रीज थीं, और इत्तेफाक से उस ज़माने में लेबर स्ट्राइक हो रही थी तो फैक्ट्रीज बंद थीं. सड़क खुली थी. सड़क पे हमने स्टेज लगाया, दरियां बिछाईं और वो कुरंगी की सारी वर्किंग क्लास जो थी, कोई 5,000 मजदूर दरियों पे आके बैठे और उन्होंने हमारा ड्रामा देखा। ओह, व्हाट एन एक्सपीरियंस दैट वाज फॉर अस। तो उनमें से एक खेल में मैं क्रिश्चियन पादरी बना हुआ था और मैंने पादरियों का लिबास पहना हुआ था जो मैंने अपने पादरी दोस्तों से किसी गिरजे में कराची से लिया था उधार। अगले दिन लेबर वर्कर्स का कराची में एम्प्रेस मार्केट के सामने जुलूस थे, मे डे के जुलूस। हम भी वहाँ थे, मैं अपने दोस्तों के साथ था, मेरी बीवी भी साथ थी कि 5, 7, 10 मजदूर मेरे पास आए हैं। उन्होंने कहा जी हमने आपको देखा था कल ड्रामे में, आप मौलवी साहब बने हुए थे। हा, मैं पादरी का लिबास पहना हुआ था, लेकिन वो समझ गया कि ये बात तो हमारी कर रहा है। उसने कहा आप मौलवी साहब बने हुए थे। इतना गहरा इम्पैक्ट होता है थिएटर का। It goes into the subconscious of the viewer, है ना। तो वो दस्तक का ज़माना हमारा बड़ा प्यारा था। उसी ज़माने में हमने ये बहुत बड़ा खेल किया था, गैलीलियो की दास्तान, ब्रेख्ट का खेल, 3 घंटे का खेल, वो हमने थिएटर में किया था, ऑडिटोरियम में, रियो सिनेमा में उनका ऑडिटोरियम था। उसमें वो भी उर्दू में मंसूर सईद का तर्जुमा था, गैलीलियो की दास्तान बाय ब्रेख्ट। गैलीलियो थे ना बहुत बड़े साइंटिस्ट। गैलीलियो की जंग थी उनके दौर के इस्टेब्लिशमेंट के साथ, यानी चर्च के साथ, रोम में। तो गैलीलियो को रोमन कैथोलिक चर्च ने विक्टिमाइज किया था और घर में आखिरी सालों में नज़रबंद कर दिया था गैलीलियो को। ये दौर था ज़ियाउल हक का। उस दौर में हमने जब ये खेल किया तो लोगों की समझ में आ गया कि मेटाफर किसको कहते हैं। मेटाफोरिकल था ना ये, वो समझ रहे थे कि हालांकि ये बात तो गैलीलियो की और उधर की कर रहे हैं, बात तो असल में हमारी हो रही है। तो गैलीलियो में हॉल भरा होता था, एक दिन स्टूडेंट्स का हॉल भरा हुआ था बिल्कुल। तो दस्तक ने नाम बनाया वहाँ पे और हमारे हमेशा बामकसद थिएटर होता था हमारा। तो ये है
सर। दस्तक में आप थे और मंसूर सईद साहब थे।
हाँ।
आप इनके
और उनकी बेटी सानिया सईद जो आजकल बड़ी मशहूर आपकी टीवी आर्टिस्ट हैं, सानिया सईद उनकी बेटी थी। शी वाज वन ऑफ माय मेन एक्ट्रेसेस, वो थी। फिर वो मेरे मेडिकल स्टूडेंट दोस्त थे जो अब बिखर गए दुनिया में, अपने वो हायर स्टडीज़ के लिए, कोई ऑस्ट्रेलिया चला गया, कोई अमेरिका चला गया, वहीं सेटल हो गए। तो ये हमारा थिएटर ग्रुप था, ऑल एमेटर्स, और सब इश्क के जोर पे चलते थे। एक्सक्यूज
दस्तक की प्रोडक्शंस में, जस्ट लाइक यू सेड, मतलब 70s was also a very sensitive time, just like you were saying कि लेबर राइट्स मूवमेंट चल रही थी उस वक्त।
बिल्कुल।
कराची में परफॉर्म कर रहे थे और उस पे भी गवर्नमेंट काफ़ी क्रैक डाउन कर रही थी।
बिल्कुल।
उसके बाद ज़िया के दौर में आपने परफॉर्म किया, तो आपकी प्रोडक्शंस में किस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स?
कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं। देखिए कमाल ये है कि वो हमें स्क्रिप्ट सेंसर बोर्ड को देने पड़ते थे, पहले वो सेंसर करते थे। कभी उन्होंने कुछ नहीं काटा, इसलिए कि वो भी समझ गए कि क्योंकि हम बेसिकली, मैं ब्रेख्ट के खेल कर रहा था, मैं रोम की बात कर रहा था, बात असल में यहाँ की हो रही थी, लेकिन हम ड्रामे अपने अडेप्ट नहीं करते थे, सिर्फ उर्दू ज़बान में ओरिजिनल खेल करते थे हम। तो बात गैलीलियो की हो रही होती थी या जिसकी भी हो रही होती थी, लेकिन ये सब समझ गए कि बात तो असल में ये इस्तेआरा, मेटाफर, बात तो हमारी कर रहे हैं ये लोग। लेकिन इसीलिए जब हम वो सड़कों पे खेल करते थे अपने, पुलिस खड़ी होती थी, पुलिस का दस्ता खड़ा होता था वहाँ पे, बट दे नेवर इंटरफियर्ड। हमारे स्क्रिप्ट सेंसर बोर्ड ने कभी नहीं काटे, पुलिस ने हमें कभी हैरेस नहीं किया। सब, आखिर वो पुलिस वाले भी तो शहरी थे, वो भी तो शहरी थे, फौजी भी तो शहरी थे, और सब पाकिस्तानी थे। वो कह रहे थे कि हाँ, ये अच्छी बातें होनी चाहिए पाकिस्तान में। अच्छे दिन थे।
और सर ये जैसे आपने कहा कि स्ट्रीट थिएटर आप करते थे दस्तक के थ्रू, और इस टाइम पे काफ़ी स्ट्रीट थिएटर की जो एक कह लें कि मूवमेंट,
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल, बाकायदा शुरू हुई थी। बहुत और लोगों ने, कई और पार्टीज ने स्ट्रीट थिएटर बहुत अच्छा अच्छा किया।
जी, मैं वही आपसे पूछना चाहूँ कि और ग्रुप्स थोड़े आपको
हाँ,
याद हों जिनसे आपका इंटरेक्शन हुआ हो?
नहीं, इंटरेक्शन तो नहीं, अपने इंडिपेंडेंटली करते थे सारे, लेकिन कराची में भी थे, लाहौर में भी थे बड़े अच्छे इंडिपेंडेंट ग्रुप्स जिन्होंने फिर बड़े अच्छे खेल किए।
This audio has been taken from the Citizens Archive of Pakistan's Oral History Project.